Pedro from A&P-Reacts. I'm here today with Emilio and Mike of Sojourner to talk about the upcoming EP, Perennial. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Everything's good.
Yeah.
Everything's fantastic.
Well, you guys seem
How are
so
you?
excited. I don't know if you guys are excited about the release or if you guys are so excited about talking to me, but your excitement is just coming off the screen.
Oh, man, it's 2 a.m. here. Cut me some slack. No, we're excited. We're excited to be talking.
So
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while, and so let's get right into this EP, Perennial, out June 4th on Napalm Records. Let's start perhaps from the beginning. Was this EP generated by the lineup changes that the band has gone through?
Yeah. So basically, like the lineup changes happen and stuff, and then we were talking to our former product manager Marcus, and we were just trying to like brainstorm, what we could do and stuff, and we just kind of decided, instead of putting up some boring Facebook post and just say, oh, here's the new members, and then you wait a year or two to hear from us like in actual musical form, we just decided, okay, let's turn it into an actual like musical release instead. Just come out with like a big bang, and then really present the two new members in a proper fashion rather than just a boring post.
Were you guys a little? Sorry, Mike, you had something to add?
No. Emilio said it all.
When the lineup changes started to happen, and you guys started to look at the fact that you would have to make some changes to the current team, if you will, were you guys concerned about the future of the band or the direction that the band would take with those changes?
No, not really. I mean, we'd kind of planned, like after Premonitions, we kind of decided that we'd go back a little bit just to the old sound, not to the old sound directly, but we'd incorporate a little bit of that back into it. And the lineup changes just gave us a chance to kind of rejuvenate the band a little bit, get us excited again, and it gave us the opportunity to split that the old role of guitar and vocals into two. And as you can hear on Perennial, we have way more of the female vocals, and Lucy just nails it. So
did you guys have a specific, I know you wanted to use this EP as a way of showcasing where the band currently is, and like Emilio said, you don't want to just do a Facebook post, you want to actually put something out there musically. Did you guys have a more defined goal in mind beyond just letting people know that, hey, this is the new band, this is the new sound? Or was that it?
No, definitely. I mean, we definitely felt that, because there was a lot of people that were concerned, when the lineup changes happened and stuff. And we were kind of like, we're not going anywhere. The core of the band, because Mike and I founded Sojourner, and we've always been the core in terms of doing the behind the scenes. And then Mike, of course, is a dude who really puts in the fucking hours with engineering, recording, producing, writing, and just everything across the board. Mike does a lot of the work. So we knew already that, the core is still here. So Sojourner is not going to go anywhere. So it was definitely kind of a bit of a statement in the sense that, okay, we're addressing your concerns. We're still here, and here you have some new fucking music with two awesome and talented members that we're super happy to have in the band now.
Now, I have to say this. Why only 2 songs? Dudes, you guys are killing me here. These 2 tracks are phenomenal, but it's only 2. I wanted more. Like what about 3 or 4? Or I don't know, like a cover song, something. I mean, 2, it was like you forced me to play it on loop.
Yeah, I mean, it's not long since Premonitions, man. Give us some time. No, it was. I mean, the whole thing came about pretty quickly, like from the suggestion that it should happen to doing it. It was pretty quick. Perennial will be on the album. It's more just a case of last year disappeared on everyone. I mean, the year just disappeared, but it was only May last year. It's only been 1 year since we actually released Premonitions, so.
It just feels longer in this pandemic,
Oh, absolutely. But we tend to give ourselves like a year's break where we would have been doing live stuff this last year, and then we'd start writing the new album about now. So
you mentioned something interesting, which is that Perennial will be part of the future in terms of the next album. So when you look at the sound on these 2 tracks, because the sound on these 2 tracks is very different from the sound on the previous record. So are these 2 tracks almost like a calling card in terms of the direction in which the band will go in as far as the sound is concerned for the next record?
I mean, we haven't spoken, like me and Emilio haven't really sat down and spoken about the next album directly yet. Where it's sort of something we need to do. But I guess this EP, so Perennial, the song, will be on the next album. Relics won't. Relics was just a chance to recontextualize, a song that people know, just to give Tom and Lucy a bit of a stage. But I think it's more of a, this was just, from a writing perspective, this was just me kind of having fun with the old Empire sound. Because I mean, I wrote both these songs and recorded them. But from the next album, like, Tom will be part of the writing. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens to the writing once it's me and Tom doing it. I imagine it'll be quite different in some respects. Emilio, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is always kind of hard to let's say predict where we're gonna go with the next thing, because we'll never be that band that releases Empires 3 times or the Shadowed Road 3 times, or what have you. So we're always evolving, but still with the core Sojourner sound. So I can pretty much say, like, the boring cliche answer I always have for people is, you'll always have the core sound of Sojourner, but maybe taken in different directions or different elements and stuff. It's just really hard to say. We don't even know, just like Mike said, we don't even know until we actually start. So it's kind of hard to say.
What do you feel Lucia adds to the band that wasn't there before? What is the major thing that she brings to the table?
A lot, really. Her and I, we had a ton of Skype sessions, worked meticulously on, not just where she would sing, but she of course had the freedom to do it however she wanted. But I knew, of course, that was one of the reasons we chose her, that she had more of a range and more dynamics than we had before. So of course, while I like everything we did on the first 3 albums, there was always a part of me that wanted to be able to do more with the female vocals, and Lucy brings that in spades. She brought more power to it. Like I said, more dynamics. She has more of a broad range, and she's super easy to work with, and it's been really, really awesome so far. And she's super pumped and all that. So I mean, we literally couldn't have asked for anybody better.
I feel like that she perhaps impacts you guys in a different way. With Mike, it's going to impact in terms of how you construct the songs, because you have to keep the dynamic in mind between Emilio and her. And Emilio is going to impact you because you also have to think about how the two of you are going to work vocally. So when you guys think of that, of the future ahead, and how these songs are come together, is this exciting? Because this almost feels like you're going into uncharted waters.
Yeah,
oh,
sure.
Definitely. You go ahead, Mike. I got something to say after.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely does. And I mean, we tend to do the music first, and then I hand over to Emilio. I mean, sometimes you write lyrics while we're writing as well. Quite often you do it while we're writing. So it's sort of, but I tend to write with the expectation that anything could go either way. I mean, like, I think, is there a blast in the pre-chorus of Perennial? I think there is, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Lucy sings over a blast. And then when I wrote that blast, I was kind of thinking of the pre-chorus from Bound by Blood off our first album. Wanted a bit of a throwback to that kind of thing. So it's just the chords with the blast, really simple. And I mean, I'd imagined Emilio doing that, and then like they had the talk and Lucy was doing it. I was like, this is.
It was my idea. But yeah, exactly. Like Mike said, so usually he just writes the music, thinking about, the band and what our style is. And I mean, nobody knows better than him, of course. So it's like he writes it. Usually I'm the one who like kind of starts dividing up the parts and thinking what can go where. And I knew I wanted to throw a curveball with that part that he was talking about, because of course it's typical. Oh, okay, blast beats, boom, harsh vocals. And I was like, nah, how about that's her introduction to the band? That part there, combine that aggressive stance of the music with, her delicate vocals in that passage. And then, and yeah, so like, it just all came together really like effortlessly. And yeah, I really don't know what else to say.
Well, let's talk a little bit about these 2 songs. I mean, we've been talking about the EP in general, but let's talk about these 2 tracks that, once again, it just felt like so much and at the same time so little, because you guys opened my appetite. for more and more. But you know, you can always play it on repeat, on loop, which is what I've been doing. Talking about Perennial, how was your thought process going into that song? Like, what do you wanted to achieve specifically with that opening track?
I think it was just supposed to be a bit of a summary. I mean, Emilio summed it up in his lyrics as well. You know, when he references all three albums, it's almost like a summary of all three of the sounds that we've had, or like the, you know, the progression of sounds. And I think, you know, I think there are elements of premonitions in there. Like, I think there are moments of like the deluge or whatever, but it's supposed to just be a bit of a trip throughout that catalog. That was the point of Perennial, at least.
Yeah, and then also part of the whole reason for it was to blow people's fucking minds. I mean, it was supposed to be a statement, like I said, you know, that whole and again, going back to what Mike said, like, you know, a combination of the first three albums, you know, so like that first intro is kind of reminiscent of Bound by Blood from the first album, and then, you know, going into kind of how we usually do Oath, Sworn in Sorrow on the second album also kind of starts with piano, and then that crash coming in, you know, it's supposed to be really, yeah, gripping and just us wanting to really be in your face. And then, you know, with Perennial and stuff, which is actually what I wanted to mention before, back then we had, you know, we couldn't do, let's say, too much in the whole, like the area of female vocals. So this time, of course, with Lucy having more of a range and, you know, us getting her, and she's just like, she doesn't play like guitar and sing. So it was kind of like, okay, now let's have two lead vocalists, because back then it was more backing female and then lead male harsh, where now it's just both of us are lead. So there's much more to play around with and much more to do. So the dynamics going, you know, towards the future are pretty endless.
Yeah, I was going to say it's pretty wide. I mean, you guys can pretty much go anywhere you want to go. There's less. I felt listening to Perennial that you guys expanded your palette, and the road has just become super wide. There's almost no boundaries in terms of what you guys can create, both on the musical side and on the vocal side. You can almost go anywhere you want to go with the band, with the sound, with the overall experience.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that we used to joke about back in Empires, you know, how ridiculous it would be that one, you never know where you're going to go initially, you know, and we're still not like a huge band, but it was kind of funny back in the day being like, oh, one day it'd be funny if we ever get to that point that people start going, oh, you know, your new stuff's shit, we want to hear the old stuff. But then, like, even by premonitions, you start seeing comments of people going, yeah, I don't know about this, I prefer Empires. And it's that kind of thing that's like, oh, yeah, maybe it's time for us to pull out the Empire stuff. And it's not done to please people, it's just, I think the more you're in a band, the longer you're in a band, you just sort of start progressing, and you kind of forget what made you excited in the first place about doing the thing you're doing. And I feel like on Perennial, we were all kind of excited again about the sound we had back in the day.
And now you feel excited about the prospects of the future.
Absolutely, yeah.
Definitely.
Relics of the Natural Realm. Why did you pick this one as the companion to Perennial?
I kind of figured that we had two new members, like Emilio was saying earlier. People are going to be curious, somewhere between curious and doubtful when members leave a band. So I figured the best way to sort of present them would be to contextualize it in Heritage was our first song, you know, it was the song that a lot of people that follow us do seem to really like. So just recontextualizing it in that, I think, is a good way to present new elements, just by giving people something they know. Which is another reason I also don't think it would be on the next album, because it's not the most unique song ever, but at the same time, I think it's a really good stage to show off Lucy and Tom.
On this EP, do you feel like it had a perfect fit in terms of the role that it played? More than just the song, was the role that it played in the biography and the new presentation of the band? And perhaps because of that, outside of this EP, doesn't really have another home.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, you know, Heritage was our first song, so it was the beginning of Sojourner, and Relics of the Natural Realm is kind of like, okay, here's a new beginning, you know? So it just kind of fits that whole like symbolism there, so to speak.
this is exciting times, man. Like I really feel like you guys are the growth that you guys have shown is tremendous, and the fact that you've gone through these changes, and the changes didn't move you guys sideways. Do you know what I mean? Like this is not a lateral move for you guys. I felt like with these two songs, specifically with Perennial, when you press play on this EP and this song hits you, it hits you, and I think it just really sets the tone for where the future of the band is going to be, or where you guys can go. I mean, I don't think you can set boundaries, but you at least can feel like you guys are just moving in another direction as far as your evolution is concerned. So was that the goal with the overall experience? If that was the goal, you guys achieved it.
I think so. Yeah, that was the goal. We've always been a band that just, right from the start, we've had like, we got lumped into atmospheric black metal, but we've had a lot of death, doom, all sorts. And yeah, this is just, in a way, it's reinforcing the fact that we're not really one thing, I guess. It's just, I think we've got I don't know, would you agree? We have a sound as a band now, I guess. We've established a sound.
Definitely.
That defines
I
the
mean,
genre.
yeah, definitely, because I mean, there's many, of course, aspects that go into the band, and of course, you can dissect all the different ones and be like, okay, this one is in that genre, this one's in that one. But I mean, the amount of bands that, let's say, are actually mixing all of them, there's probably not too many. And yeah, I definitely go and say that the CP was like a revitalization for the band. The excitement is off the charts to, go forward and see what the future brings. So
I have one last question for you guys, and you guys touched on the fact that this EP had a role, and you guys didn't want to just do a Facebook post. You wanted to put some meat on the bone, if you will. But as you start to look beyond June 4th, beyond the release of this EP, as the wheels start to turn, do you guys have a road? You may not have a clear guideline on where you're going to go with your sound and how the next album is going to sound like, but you have at least a roadmap in terms of where you currently are and the steps that you feel are necessary to take next.
you mean like in terms of music, or like the actual career of the band?
Yeah, the band in general. I mean, like what are the next steps following this EP? Like, are you guys going to start to work immediately on the next record? Are you guys thinking of what you want out of the next record? Or do you guys need some more time to digest the results of this EP and the impact that it's going to have on the fan base once they listen to songs like Perennial, for example?
I mean, me and Tom have actually started working on a few songs. We've shared some ideas back and forth. It's always a bit of a learning curve when you start writing with someone new that you've never worked with. I mean, we've been friends with Tom's for years, but I've never written with him. And when you start writing with someone, there's like I'm sure some of the stuff we make now probably end up in the trash, not get used. But we've started on a new album, and like Emilio and I, when we talk about it, there's no question a new album's coming.
Yeah, and then aside from the musical side, of course, we do plan to hopefully next year, finally, start playing shows again. Now we recently signed with Napalm Events, so there's on a worldwide basis, so there's more of a reach for us. Hopefully we can get out there more and do some shows and all that. But aside from that, I don't think too much is going to change in the sense of like what our steps are going to be. It's just going to try to go after more and get more and do more.
And I mean, I think you guys are laying the groundwork for what your goals are. I want to thank you guys for taking the time today to chat with me about Perennial, this EP. It was a surprise. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I wasn't expecting you guys to give us some new music this year. But like I said earlier, now that you gave us some new music, I wanted more. So this is always the problem. Nobody's ever happy. Nobody's ever satisfied. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely. It's like we thought like, oh, okay, it's 2 songs, but at the same time, we couldn't leave the members like waiting too long either, because they actually, when we released Perennial, they were already in the band for like 8 months. So they were like, fucking like, come on, man, can we be announced or whatever? So yeah.
It's one of those things that you guys are always going to be faulted but for something. It's either because there was only 2 songs, or the songs are not good enough, or the songs are too good, or whatever the case might be. So I thank you guys for taking the time, for putting some music out there. We really need music these days because we need something to kind of keep our minds occupied and busy. But I have to say this again. I mean, this is too good for only 2 tracks. You at least could have given us something like 3 or something. I don't know. That's just my
Thanks,
personal take. Especially like Perennial is just a phenomenal track. It's just from
Cheers.
a song structure perspective, how the vocals cooperate with one another, the way you guys constructed that track. That track is absolutely epic. I think epic is perhaps the best word to describe the sound experience on that track. It feels like it grows with every second that goes by. It just gets bigger and bigger. It's like this black hole of sound that's just bringing everything in.
Oh,
Thank you,
thanks,
man.
man.
Really appreciate that. Really appreciate
really
that.
Yeah,
It's
no,
outstanding.
I'd rather underdeliver on quantity than quality. So as long as you're saying good things,
There you
I'm
go.
happy to-
I'm with you. If it comes down to quality over quantity, then perhaps maybe EPs is the way to go in the future. Release 1 track a month.
Oh, no, no, no. No.
for us. It works for some bands, but I also kind of hate single releases. You just can't collect them in one place unless you make a playlist, and like that just doesn't feel right. So I kind of hate EPs.
I think
This'll
for
be
a
our
band like you guys, I need, and that's the reason why I said why only 2. Like I needed more. I think you're a band that feels like a book that I need to listen to some sort of continuity from the first track to track number 12, for example. I need to digest the experience over several chapters and not just get like the one off here and there, even though this one off was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, 100%. We're definitely a full length band. Definitely. This was just, a one off because of the new members and just wanting to be present. No shows are happening. So I don't think you'll be seeing many more, if not any at all, any more EPs from us. It'll just be full length.
Hey, never
rather
say
not.
there might be another pandemic 5 years from now, and then you guys are forced
Oh,
to.
fucking hell no. Please, God, no.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with the
Yes, sir.
release on June 4th. I don't think you need any luck. I mean, the music speaks for itself. So thank you for the time. All the best. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I hope to see you guys on the road soon.
Thank
You
so
too,
much.
man.
You too.
Thanks so much.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Cheers. See ya.
Bye.